Hey y'all, so I am here to do a really cool video. I do want to apologize if I have not been on there answering your questions. It's been a really hectic time. I am still working on my PhD and I am in the process of, as I found a better paying teaching job, so I'll be taking that job up. I'm going to do my best tomorrow to get to some questions, and if I don't get to your question, please let me know. But anyhow, in this video, I realized that the mullet is coming back. Everyone wants texture. One of the biggest things that I'm seeing now is like the 80s are back, the texture's back. People want wash and go styles. I'm now seeing a lot of people getting away from those really long hairstyles to now wanting something edgier and a little bit more funkier. So what I'm doing here is I have this mannequin and let me just adjust this. I got one of the generic mannequins from Sally's. I cut her into a mullet, which I have pictures of. And what I did with the mullet is I decided to do a mullet, but I did it about one inch longer than I would have. And the reason is because when you perm hair, if you cut a mullet too short, especially up top, you are going to have the hardest time wrapping the rods. You're going to be, swearing and cussing and, getting all upset. So what I do is that with a perm, your hair will shrink. So I do about 1 inch longer than I normally would, and I wrap it. Now, again, depending on the person's hair, that will determine what perm solution you're using, as well as the look the client wants. Now, this client has previously colored hair, and she's got some highlights. So knowing that, her hair is going to be a little bit more distressed. It's going to be much more porous. So what you want to do is you want to take that into account, and then you're going to think, okay, well, I'm going to use a perm that's color safe. Ideally, you would use a thiophore perm. The benefit of a thiophore perm is you don't have the risk of overprocessing like you would with a regular perm, because chemically treated hair is more fragile. So what happens is you put those chemicals on there, the hair that's been bleached or colored is going to process just like that. Everything else might not take. And what ends up happening is the bleached hair fries and breaks off. So typically your options are going to be a low pH wave, either an acid wave or a thiophore perm, because most people have colored and bleached hair. And a thiophore perm you can use on hair that's a little bit damaged, but you want to use judgment. Ideally, you can use it on bleached hair, double processed hair, but it tends to take very quickly. If you guys hear that noise, my dog, it's still squeaking that toy? Come here. Hey, come here, bud. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come say hi. Camera shy doggy. He doesn't even need a perm, he's so curly. So anyhow, I'm going to get to work on this mannequin, and what I'm going to do with this mannequin is when you use a thiophore perm is going to produce about a medium to a soft curl. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm choosing my rod size accordingly. If you're using a thiophore perm or an acid wave, what you want to do is go one size smaller than you normally would. So what this does is, let's say you want to get the curl of a purple rod. One size smaller is a white rod. You're going to use the white rod, and instead of getting the true curl to rod, curl to rod size, you're going to get a purple rod, because this will be softer and it will give you the look of this. If you do this, you're going to end up getting the look of a peach rod. So I'm going to do a few rods of the white rods here. And as the head starts to round, I'm going to start putting in some purple rods. Then I'm going to go from purple to peach to orange and then to green for a bigger look. And what this is that chemically, you're going to get some nice textural graduation in the hair and differentiation. So you're going to get from a slightly more medium curl to a softer curl to a wave. And I'm using a thiophore solution. If y'all want to know the brand I'm using is Nucleic-a from Koei Kinetics. Zotos makes this. It's pretty much the same thing as the Zotos perm. If you Lamar Inception, that's the same perm as well. Whatever is a good deal for a thiophore, you get that, because they're all one and the same. Standard perm time with this perm, very simple. Shampoo the hair. For normal fine resistant hair, you want to test curl after 15 minutes with a maximum processing time of 20 minutes. If you still don't get the S pattern after that, my pro tip is to take a warm towel, put it around the hair, and then check after 3 minutes, because that usually gives it the extra oomph that it might need. But I have a strong feeling this this mannequin will take fairly quickly. Let me see if I can raise her a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna lower this a little bit actually. All right, so then what you're gonna do, is I have my comb here somewhere, is you're gonna take your comb and see how she has bangs like here? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with the pattern of her head. One of the biggest mistakes I see people who are doing perms or perming their own hair at home is that they end up going against the curl pattern like this. And what you're gonna get is when that rubber band goes down there, you're gonna get a banded line, the hair's gonna fall really weird, and you could possibly get breakage. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna divide this up. I'm gonna get the same size diameter as the head. So this one I'm gonna take a little bit less hair here. And sometimes what I do is when I take my partings, I like to weave it. When you weave it, it looks more natural. Now, I always say a lot of these perm styles are modernized. They are not going to be, you know, like your mama's perm back in the 80s or 90s where it was pretty texturized and, you know, pretty scary looking. It will not be like that. And what you do is when you perm the hair, you never want to go like this or you never want to wrap like this. You always want to do 90 degrees from where it goes because it gives you that half off base, which gives you the most control and it does not leave the hair in a tense state. And I'm going to do a double end wrap for maximum control of the ends, so the ends can have the time they need to swell. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Get your spray bottle. And spray. I'm going to pull down. I'm going to put my perm rod like so. And even tension, I'm not going to be yanking the hair, but I'm going to use tension just like so. And right across the band. I want to be able to rock on the rod like so. That's how I know that I have just enough hair in the rod. I'm going to comb this away. And if y'all have any questions, put some questions in the chat box so I can see and I'll answer them while she's processing. I know the one video I did about how to fry your hair with a perm, that's probably one of my best ones because it shows you what can go wrong. And I always say, please watch that one because you'll see a lot of the mistakes that I mentioned. I purposely did on the mannequin. And again, if I have any cosmetology students watching, I know perms can be stressful, but it is a service that there is money to be made and they are coming back. More so than when I was younger. And, you know, back then it was all the relaxers were the rage. So if it's not one, it's the other. All right, I'm going to take some hair here. That will tell me what I need to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bricklay this. I'm going to take a little bit of hair over here. Again, I never want to wrap more than the rod can handle because if you wrap more than the rod can handle, what you're going to get is you're going to get a ton of breakage. And if I'm talking a little bit loudly, I want to make sure that y'all can hear me. So I'm going to make sure that I got to find like a better recording way of, you know, connecting with y'all. I'm also going to be doing a video on the double rod perm. I tried doing one mannequin with it and it did not go so well because the mannequin up and fried. There is actually a mannequin shortage, believe it or not. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see where that goes. Oh, got hair stuck there. See? And if the hair gets too dry, because these mannequins are funky, you want to make sure the hair is wet. Because what happens is if the hair dries out too much, you're not going to get a proper perm because of porosity. And if your hair, let's say, if you have highlighted hair, and I know it doesn't say this in the perm directions, but this is my pro tip, put a little conditioner. Don't be afraid to do some leave-in conditioner or some porosity equalizing spray, because what that's going to do, that's going to help fill in the cracks, and it's going to give you an even better result. And it's almost like insurance for your hair to protect it against breakage. What is not going to protect your hair from breakage, and there's a lot of rumors about this, do not put a bond multiplier or a bond reconstructor. There's a big one on the market with the name starts with O, hint, hint, I'm not going to mention the name. That will not protect you from breakage. Okay, that actually doesn't work because if you read the bond multiplier, it says on the back, does not work in an alkaline environment. All perms are alkaline. Even the acid perms are alkaline because it's about 1 pH level higher than your hair. Even though it's acidic, technically you're putting your hair in an alkaline state because your hair is happy at a 4.5 to a 5.5. And if your acid wave is a 7.0 neutral, still is alkaline to the hair. So I know that gets a little confusing, but that's one of the rules of hair that I know a lot of students tend to get confused on, and I understand because it is a little irritating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best to see. I'm going to do about a horseshoe pattern here. I should have clips somewhere, but you know what? I don't think I need them. Now I'm going to start to transition into purple rods. So I'm going to take one purple rod. Let's see, all right, that's what I got to do. I'm going to weave. This is a little bit longer, so now I'm gonna use a purple. And again, basic roller theory, when you work with perming, know that the chemical you use will determine the type of curl. Know that the tool that you use will determine the shape of the curl as well. And the person's hair will determine the shape that you get as well, because certain hair types, if I do a perm on someone's hair that's got normal hair, I'm gonna get what the box says. But if I have someone with fine hair, it might come out a little too curly if I overprocess, or the opposite, too straight. Let's see if I can get that perfect. All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to transition over here, and I'm gonna start to roll the opposite way, because I have pretty much gotten to a point where I'm away from her natural parting and the way her hair falls. We're also gonna re-wet her a little bit. Keep even porosity. Because the hair is starting to round over here, I'm going to put a peach rod there because the hair is longer. So I'm going to see. That hair is going to go back there because it's a little bit more texturized. It's in that fringe area. Take a weave section. And I'm going to do something cool here. I'm going to take a little bit of a bigger piece, and to give it some interesting texture so it's not as harsh with the line on the side, is I'm going to take this hair here and I'm going to wrap it vertically with a bigger rod. And that needs to be re-wet, so I'm going to It's very tedious work, but once you kind of get in the rhythm of it, that is that. actually going to rewrap this one because that one looks a little too tight for my liking. And don't be afraid if you're going there and you see a rod that maybe you could have wrapped it better, maybe it was a little half-baked, you absolutely want to correct that because failure to do so will result in broken hair and a screaming client, and no one wants either of those things. Let's see if I can take this, fold that over. You want the ends to roll neatly because what happens is if they don't, you'll get fish hooks. And what that does is that produces a really nasty result that the client is not going to like at all. And know that with a mullet, because a mullet is not really a natural hairstyle, it's more of like one of those fashion cuts. You are gonna, you're not gonna necessarily look for more of a natural look with the mullet, but you want to look for more of a dramatic curl up here, and then you want to transition from busyness here, because that's the focal point, to looser as you go down. And you can still be pretty fashionable with that. You don't necessarily have to have it like Cruella de Vil style, where it's like one extreme, like dark to light. You can have it really, really curly into medium curls into looser waves. That gives it kind of that neat look. Drop my comb, but guess what? I am not at state board, so that is A-okay. And if y'all are cosmetology students or hairdressers, you know exactly where the humor in that is. Oh, guess I failed my state board exam. Ah, shoot. I got a runaway paper. Oh, sugar. You know what I'll do is do this. When mannequins give you a hard time, I know y'all saw that, and guess what? Mannequins will make you, they will bring out the absolute worst in you. And I've seen people that never ever cuss or swear or whatever you call it. They work with a mannequin and they start, every other word is bleep, 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 because it is a pain. But it's the labor of love, because if you can do this on a mannequin, you can do it on just about anything, is what I tell my students. Okay. Now I'm going to go here and I'm going to put a peach rod in here, because that would be more natural. If you get any of these little hairs, just get them back in there like that. All right, so now I'm at the round of the head, so I'm going to do my last purple rod. Because this is a specialty perm, I would actually charge it like you would a spiral. Charge a little bit more because you're designing this to the client's head. And, perm usually is about $60 or more, because I know that, prices of a lot of things have gone up. So some places 60 is too cheap. Other places it might be just right, or maybe a little bit expensive. So I would say for the specialty perm, you could probably charge $100. But again, you want to make sure the client understands that this perm is tailored for them. I don't like the way it looks. I'm going to end up doing this. I'm going through here. Put that hair down. I'm going to take that out and get that here. The M papers do not want to cooperate with me today. This hair is a little bit longer here, so I'm going to transition into a peach rod. It's just peachy. And when I say the peach is my transition rod, what it means is that because this is a long layered haircut and then I went in and I did the mullet up top, it's got more, it's shorter here, and then here it's just texturized. So what that means is that you're going to have this hair that's a little bit shorter and a little bit longer, and it makes it easy because I tend to do a cushion wrap, which is why I put a little bit more paper than needed, so I can still protect the ends. So that is what I'm doing to ensure that I get full coverage. I'm also making sure that I do about one peach rod, and then I either do an orange or a green. That way it's just a natural transition, and not something that's super, dramatic and loud and like, oh my gosh, she's going from a really, there's some of the hairs I can get right there. It's not going to be like, oh my God, she's going from a, really tight curls to, the waves, and then it would look like who did it and ran. We want a nice mullet, not a ratchet mullet. This hair is all long, so I'm going to do a peach rod there. She also has to be wet down here too. I'm spraying away, it's not wet the computer. I know I have another peach one somewhere. There we go. Get those hairs in there. Perfect. The best part is that when you wrap the entire perm, it is processing in about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you have to rinse. So it's a lot of tedious steps, but the actual process happens that quick, which is so funny, and like it's both irritating and just kind of magical, because you're thinking like, wow, like this small amount of chemical that I'm putting on the hair may not seem like much, but it has the power to do so much to make the hair more manageable, to put the texture where you want it. It's just some really cool stuff if you think about it from a scientist point of view. It's like, wow, like who would ever have thought that, how did they even discover that this chemical does that? Is what I want to know, at least. Again, make sure the ends are in there. Get it nice and wrapped. Okay, I got it wrapped a little better. All right. And I might have one more feet shot. So now that I have a layer of peach rods here, what I'm going to do is I'm then going to go in with one orange rod. And then after that, I'm going to put all green rods. And then it will be a lot more easier because the hair is kind of pretty uniform. So again, I want to take sections the diameter of the rod. I'm going to do a little bit of a weave, that way it's natural. I so wish I can get a perm that wraps itself. Or like a solution, you can just put it on the hair. And although they do have it, because if you really want to get a supernatural perm, you can use these, which are the flexi rods. Those make life so much easier, and they make the coolest looking waves. That is more of a modern perm per se, when you're using those flexi rods. Okay, I got that. Pretty sure I have some of the ones that I needed. Got one more of these in there. And again, get the rubber band right across the top of the rod. Okay, now that I got a layer of orange rods, I'm then going to go in with the green ones, and it's going to be super easy, as these are, pretty big, and you can take sections that you'd like, bigger sections. Okay, this I gotta wet down more. Any questions from anyone so far? Once you get the round of the head, it's so much easier. And what I'm probably going to do is I'm actually going to end this when I finish wrapping this. I'm going to drape the mannequin with cotton, and I'm going to come back and do a part 2 of processing the perm. I forgot to also mention the benefit of the thiophene perm is that because it's cysteamine, that chemical, that reducing agent, unlike ammonium thioglycolate, is gentler when it swells the cuticle. It does not swell the cuticle like regular perms. So what happens is someone who has balayage, balayage or highlights, hair that has multiple porosities, especially the balayage or ombre, it's going to be gentler on those porous areas, and you end up getting a uniform curl instead of having to do the risk of doing a regular perm and risking over processing. They also make a buffered alkaline wave called Perfect for Platinum, and that's another good one too if you want a softer curl, but it is a little bit more high risk because it is basically a cold wave, just using a lot of conditioner. All right, I'm down to my last rod. Nothing is more satisfying when you get that last rod in there and you were like, amen. But again, do not get sloppy on your last few rods, because if you get sloppy there, it will show, and then you're going to do all the work for basically nothing. And also know that if you ever overwrap a rod, overwrapping is possible. And when you overwrap, Overwrapping will give you uneven curl, so it ends up really, really weird, and your hair is more prone to breakage because there really is no fix to uneven curl other than, the trim to even everything out and making sure that you're conditioning the hair as you go along. Should you have uneven curls, you are never going to want to reperm that because that can break. So anyhow, this is the mannequin. Look at how that is all nice and wrapped. And I'm gonna go and put some cotton around her head, put some Vaseline. You always wanna protect your scalp. I'm gonna get the T-pin. When you have perm solution, get T-pins or wig pins and you puncture the top. Do not ever use scissors and snip, because what happens is you're gonna sploosh out waving solution everywhere and it's gonna be a mess. Also make sure you're using the wave and not something else, and you're gonna get gloves. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna come on with part 2.